I want to say that it's great to see so many people here. I'm a psychologist here in San Francisco, and I'm oftentimes looking for places to send clients because so many of my clients are looking for a spiritual practice and are trying to deepen a sense of meaning in their life, and it's nice to know that this is here and that it's thriving, so glad to see that. Yeah, the reason why, so Joe got together with the four of us and we talked about some different ideas of what we were going to speak about. And I was chosen to do the portion on love, I think, as he was saying, because I am a psychologist. I'm in private practice here in San Francisco. And I have a specialty. I work with a lot of couples, so I see a lot of different people that are struggling with these issues. So, and before I go on, this is a discussion, and last time, like you said, when you talked about politics, so please feel free to step in if you have a question, or if you also have a comment. I don't really sort of see myself as the expert here. I just have a different, I have a perspective on it, but there's a lot of wisdom in this room, and if somebody wants to add something, please feel free to do so. A little bit of background about myself. So a little bit of background is that my father was a minister of a fundamentalist Christian faith. He actually was the same faith that Sarah Palin is from. So pretty early on I had developed a suspicion about organized religion, and yet I was very fascinated with spirituality and anything to do with spirituality. And through the years I've studied various disciplines and philosophies. And Buddhism is always the one that I've come back around to because it seems the most tolerant and the most open and the most accepting. In my own practice, I have, you know, I meditate daily. I have a yoga practice, and then I'm a member of a small men's spirituality group, which is focused on trying to create a more meaningful life. And then attending lectures, doing reading constantly, but it's pretty much a program that I've come up with for myself. And I think that's what I like about Buddhism, is that it really allows you to do that, although I also know the benefit of being part of the thriving Sangha, so again. So the other thing that I wanted to sort of, this is an aside, is as a psychologist, what is really very exciting is in the last maybe 10, 15 years, there's been a real convergence between various disciplines, the discipline of neurophysiology, psychology, and then Buddhism, and specifically the practice of mindfulness and meditation. And it used to be that therapists would shy away from anything to do with spirituality because they felt like it was outside of our domain, and there was sort of a suspicion of a therapist would bring that up. And lately now there's been more and more research that shows that there's a link between what is occurring when people meditate, the impact it has on neurophysiology, and hence the impact it has on one's psychological state or sense of well-being. And the most exciting research is going on with regard to how people that have meditated for many years, how it's creating new neural synaptic passages in the prefrontal cortex, and specifically the development of what's called mirror neurons. I don't know if people have heard this before, but mirror neurons are the neurons that when somebody does something, there's a similar neuron in your brain that goes off. And it's the way that we think that we acquire language, but it's also very much related to empathy and compassion, so that people that are meditating for a long period of time are developing more of these neurons. So it's very exciting, and it's also given permission to introduce ideas around mindfulness and meditation into psychotherapy practice, which I do both with individuals as well as with couples. So what I was going to do was give 3 examples of where some of these principles have applied in my life or with the clients I work with. And to begin with saying that, with my understanding of Buddhism is that when it comes to love, that there is this inherent paradox. And on the one hand, the search for love, the search for actually anything, can result in greater suffering, because it's the idea that we have a want that we are then pursuing, and that that these desires are oftentimes what cause our suffering. So the paradox is that by just by concentrating on one's practice, and by entering into a level of consciousness, that you actually create a space where love just emerges and just happens. And I've read this for a long time about how there are different states in consciousness, and it does, but it's only been recently in my practice where there's that moving into a state of being where there is a sense of connectedness, and where you know without having to question it, without any logic, that everything is okay, everything is fine, everything is one, and within that feeling there is a welling up of compassion and love. And but so much of what our Western culture is about is this search for love, this mysterious search for love, which is oftentimes very ego-driven. And the more that the ego gets involved in that search, the more it's almost destined to reap suffering along the way. So the three examples I'm going to use, the first one is